Hello, my name is Ayana Flemings, and I'm American. And I love traveling and visiting different countries and learning about different cultures. And recently, I've learned about Azerbaijan. It's a very interesting, controversial place. Have you ever heard of Azerbaijan? Do you know anything about Azerbaijan? Have you ever thought of visiting Azerbaijan? Well, let's see.
What do you know about Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan? Nothing.
What do you know about Azerbaijan?
Absolutely nothing.
Do you know what it is?
Sir, I don't.
Azerbaijan. I know it's. Wow.
What do you know about Azerbaijan?
Who?
You know, I read about it all the time. I know what it is, and it's just
Is it a country?
no.
Apparently, not too many people know anything about Azerbaijan. But if someone from Azerbaijan were to invite you to their country, would you take their word for it and go? Well, in this film, we found many people that are not from Azerbaijan, but have been there many times. And they're going to tell you why you should go, and you can take their word for it.
This is Kafkaz, Azerbaijan, and it's a unique phenomenon in the world.
I felt like I was either in Vienna or one of those Central European cities.
It's a very interesting set of contrasts. In general, East meets West in Azerbaijan.
I was actually surprised when I came to Baku about this flair of 1001 Nights.
The best thing in Azeri is once they are friends forever.
It's kind of orderly chaos or chaotic order.
Ten-year back, first time I landed in Baku, we took a cab, and from the airport to till downtown, total jungle. It was total dark, and I was so scared. I said, what is going on? I mean, where we are going? Is this guy taking us in the right place? Are we going in some city, or what is this? But today, if you look at Baku, thanks to your president and his son, really great. I mean, now if I got down at the midnight over there, I could see I'm really in a Western world.
I was actually surprised when I came to Baku about this flair of 1001 Nights. I really sort of felt the remnants, the aura of a bustling Oriental city, especially in the old city, with the gates, with the wall, with the still remaining old houses.
One cannot go up to Maiden Tower. It's so near to the office, and there's that lovely district right between the Maiden Tower and the hammams there, where they have the beautiful wooden walkways. I like that district very much.
I did climb up on Maiden Tower a few times, and I know the story why it's called Maiden Tower, of the princess who jumped down into the sea, which then still was at the bottom, to save her honor, I think. It's a very impressive structure.
And I would often walk the streets. Well, typically, it depends on what hotel I stayed in. I would walk either from my hotel, if I was within a walking distance, or alternatively at lunchtime. I would walk around if it wasn't too terribly hot. And I always found it charming.
Of course, each area has beautiful, charming, has atmosphere. It's a heritage from the past centuries and goes back pretty far.
There are basically three different Baku as I see. One is Baku of the end of 19th century, the first oil boom. But I'm talking about downtown, İçerişehir, Fontan Square, and that part of the city, which reflects the huge wealth of those days. And a lot of architecture with good taste and style, pieces of art. Old 19th century Baku is, I mean, the first time I was in downtown Baku, Fontan Square, I felt like I was either in Vienna or one of those Central European cities.
What I like about Baku regards, amongst many things, its architecture. Because it is so varied from place to place.
Then you have the Soviet time Baku. Then I'm talking about 8. kilometer and then the microrayons in the north, right? With all these ugly buildings.
There are very little traces of these box-like buildings that you see in other countries of the former Soviet Union.
Then the third Baku is the new oil boom Baku. That's what you see, the new roads, new high-rises.
It's not like you go to northern countries where everything is spick and span and everything has to be very orderly. It's kind of orderly chaos or chaotic order. There's order in spite of all the non-monotonous design of buildings, the way how goods are displayed.
Baku architecture is something, a mixture of East and West.
You see the best of Europe and also the best of Asia, and it's combined in this culture and this environment and atmosphere in the food, in the architecture and the characters.
It's a very interesting set of contrasts. In general, East meets West in Azerbaijan.
For me, it's definitely Western. I mean, Western has a big scope of different cultures anyways, but I would definitely put Azerbaijan into the West.
But I would say that in general, that the older generation has more Eastern feeling to them and the younger generation has more Western. Most reasonable explanation, I think, is media exposure. The fact that young people have access to much more Western media than the older generation.
Now, if you go to rayons, for example, if you go to Sheki, if you go to Masallı, you would tend to think that this is an Eastern culture, an Eastern country. But if you sort of in downtown Baku, that has not only Eastern but more Western elements in it.
You immediately notice the huge difference between the oil-dominated capital and the oil fields around it and all the bustling and industry and activity around oil. And then as soon as you move away from it, Azerbaijan turns into a completely different country, very quiet, very laid back, still very natural. I had the feeling that outside Baku people live very close to nature, live a simple life, much simpler than in Baku.
Thus far I've been to 2 regions of the country. What I like both about Shamakha and Lankaran is how very different they are from Baku. And with that, the climate's different, obviously the air is better on the one side, people more approachable, just as they are in most countries in rural areas versus urban areas. But very pleasant. Both are different, beautiful, actually, both were.
The people you see enjoying life actually seem to be outside this whole frenzy about making money and spending money. You see all these people in really, really big, expensive cars, very well dressed and having this sort of empty, stressed out look, and then you see people who apparently don't have a lot of money or have a lot less money, who sit somewhere in the park and play a game of cards or chess and seem absolutely relaxed and happy with themselves and the world. So I think this is really a bit of a rift in the national character maybe, or in the national fabric. You have this frenzy for money, which actually the people don't need. They could be perfectly satisfied without it. It's my impression.
The Azerbaijanis as a people are really very open and friendly, and most important, they're very courteous. You can talk to anyone in the streets, even the taxi drivers. You go downtown Baku, you go to the restaurants, and even government officials. They are very friendly and very open and very honest.
I made a number of friends over there, whether they have any official business with me or not, but they are very good friends. The best thing in Azeri is once they are friends forever. They feel like to call you at home, they feel like to show their hospitality at home.
Yeah, definitely. People are very friendly. One of my observations is Azeris generally are very warm people, and unlike many other countries, when you meet someone, you get very close very quickly. That doesn't happen in many countries, and even in my country, Turkey. people are usually a little bit distant, and it takes some time to warm up and get closer. It's not the case in Azerbaijan, just the opposite.
I guess being in a warmer climate make people more open, more relaxed.
I found those areas to be very open, very welcoming, very hospitable, in a very informal and kind way. So I would definitely not consider Azerbaijan as radically Islamic, and I think it's a liberal country. I think the way people live, dress, behave is very, very open, very liberal, and people in Azerbaijan are tolerant. People are very relaxed about religion, not indifferent, but relaxed and tolerant.
And when I was there, I never felt that people approach other people on the basis of their religious views. No discrimination.
I can say almost without exception, on a one-on-one level, let's put drivers in a different category. On a one-on-one level, people are very pleasant to deal with.
Some transformation that goes on within Azeri when you put him behind a steering wheel and into city traffic.
Well, if you talk to me about traffic in Baku, I would say it was really crazy.
The traffic in Baku is really apocalyptic. It's horrible. It's the worst traffic I've seen ever, I think. Okay, I haven't been to places like Manila or Bangkok, which have a very bad... It's the worst traffic I've seen ever, I think. Okay, I haven't been to places like Manila or Bangkok, which have a very bad reputation, but I think Baku comes quite close.
It's an interesting thing because in Baku, the only traffic signal I've ever seen obeyed is the traffic light itself. The simple red light is most always respected. After which, when it turns green, nothing is respected. Nothing. And you are putting your life at grave risk to run across the street, whether the light's in your favor or not.
But somehow people get used to it, and with all the aggressive behavior still, for me, people always slow down in the last minute, and I've never seen any serious accidents occur. I'm sure there are, but it's more a thing of culture than of character, I would suppose.
I attribute that to the Asian influence in Azerbaijan. There's a give and take. And in Baku, it's often more sharp than it is in other places, with yelling, tooting of horns, hand gestures, and the like. I didn't see that in Southeast Asia, but I did see that same give and take between drivers.
There are cities where there are rules which are not written, which are not told, but just practiced, right? The Azeri traffic or driving has its own rules.
In general, compared to other Asian countries, such as maybe perhaps Bangkok or Manila or Jakarta or India, New Delhi, traffic in Baku is much more orderly than in these countries. So it's less chaotic.
I think one of the best things about Baku is that the big Corniche, the big promenade along the bay, has an underpass where you can safely cross without having to do it on the surface. I think Baku is a city that is quite walkable, and it's not unusual to be a pedestrian there. Lots of people walk, so there's space for pedestrians. There's a lot of parks in the city. There's this pedestrian zone right through the commercial heart of the city. Then there's this beautiful promenade along the bay, which is nice for walking, which is great for jogging in the morning.
I've been so many times over there. I've been hanging around even midnight, even early morning. I haven't seen any problem. And then one more thing is people are very courteous. I haven't seen, for the last 10 years I've been there, so many times, say 25 times, 26 times I've been there. I have not seen anybody is fighting with anyone. Anybody is even abusing anyone.
I had no worries about going out late. I mean, I used to walk at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
The hotels are very safe. They are Western hotels with modern amenities, cable, satellite TV, mini bars.
See, I generally stay in the hotel like Hyatt and Park Inn, and I did stay in Radisson also.
My favorite being a little boutique hotel in the old city, which is close to the Maiden Tower with a very nice roof terrace with a view over the port and the bay and the old city. It has this familiar, friendly atmosphere that I quite like about Baku. Baku, I think, has a wonderful scene of restaurants and of places where you can go to for having drinks, for meeting people, for dances, for entertainment.
First time I was there were only few restaurants you can go to. Obviously then after 95, 96, 97, places started mushrooming.
If you go outside, there are a number of discos. It's a very good nightlife. Then we can see the karaoke's. I've been to karaoke's over there. I did sang number of songs over there.
You can have very European pubs where a lot of oil workers also go and expats downtown. The most interesting and I would say the most enjoyable ones are the local Azeri restaurants where you can have an open space with a lot of open tables. There are also caravanserai restaurants. These are former stops of merchants along the Silk Road.
In Azerbaijan, my impression was that besides tea and coffee, both very nice, there's nice wines, there's raki, there's vodka, of course, as a legacy from the Soviet Union.
Of course, you have a very good local beer, but the major drink is vodka.
You know, Azerbaijani men, I've seen them drink, and nothing changes. Everything's normal. Because they do it slowly, they eat, they talk, you know, it's got a rhythm to it.
You can get the best lamb chops in Azerbaijan.
I love tomatoes in general, and Azeri tomatoes I think are amongst the best.
I love beluga fish.
The first one would be dolma, and the second one would be dushbere, and third pilav.
Then the best is kebabs.
And of course, Azerbaijanis, they're not the only people that sit down at the table and eat. Everyone does it all over the world. But there's something going on at the Azeri table, some little spark of energy that I've not experienced anywhere else. I have an ambition. I would love to one day open up a really fine Azerbaijani restaurant, you know, here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I think it'd be a great thing. Azerbaijani people, I discovered in my first trip and every single trip afterwards, highly educated, highly cosmopolitan, great sense of humor, and they have a nice balanced way of being in social setting. It's common for Azerbaijanis to know more about things about America than many Americans. I know Americans that don't know the capitals of the states. Azerbaijani people, they rattle off the capital of our states. I think, why did you even bother to learn that?
Azeri women can be extraordinarily beautiful. It's true.
Most pretty ladies, if I've seen in Baku.
I think you find a very high proportion of exceptionally attractive women in Azerbaijan, especially in Baku. And they also have a way of presenting themselves in the best possible way.
There is no question about the beauty of Azeri women, and that's well known. And everyone going to Azerbaijan comes with that impression. The first thing they talk about is the beauty.
And you can see a lot of these women just moving back and forth in Fountain Square. And you see them all throughout the day, all throughout the week. And there are a lot of eating places in the Fountain Square. So if you just sit in there and grab a sandwich, you see all these women and you start to wonder, why is this women just going back and forth? So it's like a fashion show.
How does the Azerbaijani, traditional Azerbaijani, solve the timeless question of how do you find a mate, right? In the Western world, you know, we go out on dates and we find somebody we like and we take them home to meet mom and dad, and that's it. In the Eastern world, you know, you're 12 years old, that's your husband in the future, right? A 15-year-old kid, 12-year-old, that's it, you're compatible. We like the parents like each other, the kids are getting married, and that's the end of that. So you've got this extreme Western thing, which is, you know, it's like buying a car, you go take it for a test drive before you put the money down. And in the East, you know, it's like you are assigned to this person for the rest of your life. Don't even discuss it. So in Azerbaijan, they have to solve this problem in a unique way, which is a nice boy sees a nice girl at some social function, and he doesn't go running up to her and saying, let's date, I want to take you out. He goes to his mother. And what does she do? She goes and finds out who is her mother, goes to the mother and says, listen, you know, we might become in-laws. We got to talk. The mother of the daughter goes to her daughter and says, daughter, I think I found a nice young man for you. And the important thing is, the daughter can refuse. It's not forced.
I like Azerbaijani music very much, and I still have many CDs. I still listen to Azeri music.
The Azerbaijani mugam is one of the greatest forms of music that was ever invented by human beings. There was such a positive feeling in me. There was no skepticism like, oh, what is that strange instrument? It didn't feel strange at all. It just felt like some door was opening to a realm of knowledge and experience that I had been waiting for all my life.
There's also a few really good jazz musicians in Azerbaijan. I remember that I once bought a CD from, I forgot the names, but there's a couple, father and daughter.
Mustafa Zadeh is, I mean, the master of jazz. I mean, I don't think that there's any sort of jazz player that came out of that part of the world as sort of deep and as colorful as Mustafa Zadeh. It's a sort of a genre in itself, the way I see it. Particularly the ones he has where he mixes the Azeri motifs with jazz motifs. Unbelievable. I still listen to his CDs.
I have a huge recommendation for everyone who goes to Baku. The Carpet Museum is really something that is absolutely worthwhile seeing, even for people who know nothing about carpets, even for people who don't like carpets, who hate carpets. This museum is something really impressive.
You know, there are no carpets in the world like Azerbaijani carpets. They are astonishing. They are not merely beautiful. I mean, the Persian carpets are beautiful, Indian carpets are beautiful, but Azerbaijani carpets are mind-boggling. They're intriguing.
Azeri carpets are really something of amazing aesthetic value, and I think it was one of the most interesting museums I saw in my life.
If you talk to my daughter or talk to my son, they say if they want to go back, they want to go back to either to Azerbaijan or India.
But I must say I feel not very far from home in Azerbaijan.